folks, welcome to day 39 of reading 10 comics a day until I've read every single DC comic. I'm Rhino7, and let's get right into the 10 comics I read today. First, we have Detective Comics number 46. This was a Batman. I'm going to talk mostly about the Batman stuff. This is maybe the first time his little disappearing act is done, which is pretty cool. The first time, it's the classic. He usually does it with Jim Gordon. Jim's talking, he looks away, he turns back, and Batman's gone. This is the first time he does that. Not with Gordon, who actually hasn't appeared since his first appearance, I feel like, in the first issue of Batman's appearance. In Detective Comics number 27, I don't think Jim Gordon has appeared since then, which is something I just realized. But this is the first time Batman does a disappearing act. This is also the return of Hugo Strange as a main villain. This is the first appearance of Fear Gas, although it is not used by Scarecrow, and it is used up by Hugo Strange. The story follows Batman. After beating up a group of thugs, Batman stops when he realizes one of them is a 17-year-old boy. The boy promises to explain everything if Batman promises not to turn him in, so Batman agrees. The boy explains that the mob boss that is leading this gang, whose name is Carstairs, is working with some professor to take over the city. The boy gives Batman some pills that are supposed to be used by members of the gang to stop the professor's plan from working on them. Batman uses the boy to spy on the mob or whatever. He tells the boy to go and says, you go to the meeting and then tell me what happens, and discovers the professor is Hugo Strange. Then Batman is knocked unconscious while meeting with the boy, and he is captured, and while thugs begin going out and using the fear gas on people to steal from them. So they go around the city spreading the fear gas, infecting as many people as they can so that it becomes easy to steal from them. Batman eventually wakes up and escapes. He calls Robin, and together the dynamic duo stop the fear gas from spreading any further, capture all the thugs, and Batman kills Hugo Strange. Pretty much. He punches him off a cliff and just kind of watches him fall. And, that's not a very good thing to do, Batman. Don't know why he did that. Now we move on to Feature Comics number 39. I fucking hate Feature Comics. Flash Comics number 12. Flash stops a war? This is very similar to an earlier Superman story. Actually, this isn't similar at all, other than the fact, there's a small country and there's a big country. The small country is being attacked by the big country. Flash is hired to be the small country's army, basically. And it's a really fun issue. He just it uses a lot of his super speed. It's really fun. He steals all the bad guys' weapons and their armor, and he does a lot of things. He steals, shells, big missiles, and there's a lot of stuff. He basically takes away everything the big army could use to destroy the little army, and he saves the day. He stops a war, and the big country is forced to agree to a peace treaty. Hit Comics number 6. I don't know. There's nothing really to talk about. There was one story with electric swords and one with invisible rays, and that's really all I care about mentioning. Is that there were cool weapons in this one. Master Comics number 9, Bullet Man protects the district attorney. Bullet Man, DC's knockoff Captain America, is hired to protect the district attorney, and that's really all I have to say about Master Comics right now. Then we move on to More Fun Comics number 62, where we have a really fun Spectre issue. I actually really like this one. First it opens with this goofy-ass arm scene. I don't know why his arm looks like that. It's big and weird, and weirdly muscly. He can do that, I guess. This is the first time he's done anything like that. Also, reading this page was fucking impossible. Genuinely impossible to read. It's so poorly scanned. A lot of these old comics are, and that's unfortunate, I would say. Jim saves a woman who nearly drives off a cliff. It turns out this woman is the daughter of a famous scientist. When Jim asks for the bathroom and accidentally nears the wrong room, which happens to be the lab, the scientist gets really mad and offensive and kicks Jim out. The scientist goes to Dexter, which is one of his pupils, and he takes out Dexter's brain and turns it into a super brain because he wants to make a super race. Days later, massive crimes start happening all over the city using elaborate genius plans, they bomb the museum so they can steal from easier. Maybe not the smartest plans, but they're portrayed as smart in the story. As the Spectre, Jim discovers the thugs are all returning to the scientist's house after the heists. The Spectre discovers the brain, which has kidnapped the professor and his daughter and put them in these big glass containers. and sort of like frozen them, I guess. Turns out the professor created the Brain hoping to make a super race, but the Brain decided a life of crime would be more profitable. The Brain plans to kill the president and take over the country, but the Spectre saves the president by eating a bullet. And I thought that was a really funny panel. The Brain then tries to have the Brain then tries to have the scientist killed, but the scientist smashes the Brain's jar, which causes it to start growing in size and just absorbing anything that touches it. The Spectre is nearly absorbed but escapes due to the Ring of Life, and then the Spectre does manage to destroy the Brain, but not before it kills the Professor, sadly. Now, also in more fun comics, 62, we have Dr. Fate. There's a genius scientist. I actually really like this Dr. Fate issue. I like a lot of Dr. Fate stuff. A genius scientist named Raymond Ryle creates an army of robots that can each only be defeated by a massive cannon blast, which kind of isn't relevant because there's no cannon blast used against them ever. There's no, like, they're not ever defeated in that way in this comic. That's just kind of a thing that's mentioned and not used. Dr. Fate discovers the robots are controlled by radio frequency and manages to disrupt the radio waves long enough to deactivate most of them, which allows the soldiers who are defending from the robots that are attacking the city, and the defenders, the soldiers, are able to take apart the robots. And then Dr. Fate uses magnetism to trap the rest because he can't hold up the frequency disruptor for too long or something. Dr. Fate then tracks down Rawl to his base and condemns him to hell. Not really, he just sort of burns him in a big fire, which I guess is similar to being condemned to hell, surely. Mystery Men Comics number 17, Blue Beetle battles a gang, which is just like, you know, Blue Beetle, kind of all Blue Beetle does right now, I'll be honest. He just does racketeering shit. That's you know, I'm going to talk about this later. But racketeering is like a big thing in the 30s, 40s. Right? It's kind of all these comics are about, it feels like sometimes. National Comics number 6, Uncle Sam stops a foreign submarine. Smash Comics number 17, The Ray stops a hypnotic musician. Not the Pied Piper, there's a different hypnotic musician. Superman number 7 marks the first appearance of Perry White in the comics, following his first appearance in the Superman radio show. Perry White does replace George Taylor from here on out, I believe. In the first story, Superman saves a man on death row. In the third, he stops an election rigging, which is kind of cool. It's sort of just a standard racketeering plot, but with election rigging instead. And in the fourth story, he goes undercover to draw out a group of criminals. In the second story, though, which is my favorite, I love this one. This is a very fun story. Sorry. First of all, it's in Gay City, which is great. People in Gay City are turning to glass and shattering upon bumping into anything. Perry sends Clark to investigate and tells Lois to stay behind because she's a woman. Lois goes behind his back and travels to Gay City anyways. Superman saves a bunch of people from crashing into shit, and then he starts investigating the source of the problem. He finds a scientist who's had his tongue cut out and leads him to large gas tanks that contain the gas that's turning people into glass. The scientist leads Superman there. So Superman throws the gas tanks into the ocean, which seems a little reckless. Like, I feel like that could have some pretty bad, that could do some bad things. Maybe not a great idea, throwing them into the ocean. I feel like he surely had other options, and that wasn't the best option. I feel like that could have some severe consequences, but what do I know, right? What do I know? Superman then finds the antidote and brings it to Lois, who is slowly turning into glass, because she bumped her arm into a chair, and she was slowly turning into glass. So her entire arm was glass, and he brings her the antidote. Then he brings it to the Commissioner, who steals it and runs into a crowd, and Superman doesn't want to scare everyone, so he can't chase him. And the Commissioner then goes to the police and convinces them that Superman is causing the glass epidemic somehow. And then the Commissioner jails Superman using a gas to weaken him. Superman does manage to escape, defeats the Commissioner, and gives everyone the antidote. And he saves the day. He saves the freaking day, because he's goddamn Superman. A lot of racketeering stuff. I did enjoy some of the comics here. I liked that Batman one. The Batman one was fun. The Fear Gas was good. A lot of gas in this today. Because we had Batman doing gas, Fear Gas stuff. We had Superman with the glass gas. And, just a lot of gas overall, really, I'd say. A lot of fun stories. Dr. Fate, probably my favorite superhero currently. My favorite superhero is Superman, but in the context of reading every comic book ever, every DC comic book ever, only including stories I've read during this Dr. Fate is currently my favorite character, counting only stories from the Golden Age, from what I've read of the Golden Age. Okay, does that make sense? Thank you. Okay, that's all I have to say. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.